Hi, Kathleen. Really liked your video. I thought you made some great points about the interview process and how to prepare for it. One thing that stood out to me right off the bat was you mentioned doing a test drive to where the interview is going to be at. I had an issue with that exact situation probably 12 years ago now, but I went to apply for a job and based on the location, the address of where the interview was going to be at, I saw it on paper and said, "Oh, I know where that is. That's no problem." And then waited until it was actually time to go to the interview to drive there. And when I got there, it was easy enough to get to the address, but I didn't see where I was supposed to go in. It was sort of a fenced area, and there's a door for deliveries, and there's this employee only section, and I couldn't find the right entrance for a guest to use. And if I had gone out and prepared properly and gone there ahead of time to find out where to be, I wouldn't have been 10 minutes late to the interview, and I might have got that job. So that's an excellent point, and something I think a lot of people don't think about. Um, Questions for the interviewer is another thing you brought up, and I always find that kind of challenging because it's sort of a fine line between being engaged and showing you're interested versus you don't want to ask questions that sound like you think you've already got the job. Um, and maybe that's just me. I turned off one interviewer once, uh, same interview I was late for actually, by giving the impression that I thought I had the job locked up. And I'm asking details about what I'll do when I'm in the position. And they kind of took offense at that I assumed that I already had it locked up. So, I mean, maybe that was just a one off, uh, something specific to that one particular interview. But um, asking questions to show that you're prepared and that you are invested in getting that job and doing it right will give a good impression generally. Um, you also made a good point about saying the names of the people that are interviewing you. People like to hear their names. They like to know that the people they're talking to are interested and are paying attention and recognize them individually. And repeating their names back to them, "Thanks for having me in here, Kathleen," that sort of thing, it does make a big impression. Nonverbal language is another big thing. You can kind of tell how an interview is going by how they're reacting. If they're kind of looking at their watch and uh, rolling their eyes at you, you know you've said some things that have turned you off to them. But you also need to watch your own body language to make sure you're not telling them things you don't want to say to them. That show you're not interested in being there. And finally, leaving with a good impression. The wrap up at the end of the interview is one of the most important parts. No matter how well or bad the interview went, how you end it is going to leave a big impression and be one of the things they remember when they're going back and saying, "Okay, we talked to Tom about this and that. We talked to Kathleen, and yeah, she really, just from a good final impression before you leave, that can really get the conversation started about you as the pick versus someone that just sort of skulked out when it was done." So, excellent point bringing that up. Thanks a lot.